5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sarah, welcome, and thank you for being on our podcast.
Yes,
well,
hello.
thank you. Fun.
You want me to start?
Yeah, you thought you were gonna...
So basically, I just want to tell a little backstory about how you kind of got into this business and kind of what your business is, what you do, and how you got into it.
Okay. So I own the Thistle, independent gift store and bookstore and retail gift shop. We do everything, a little bit of everything for everyone. I've owned it for 6 years. The business has been here 46.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? I think 43, sorry, 43 years, which is fairly significant for a tourist town.
Yeah.
And I credit the locals for that. They're huge supporters of the Thistle. And
Well, you have fun stuff too, that helps.
right, but anyway, so how I got into it is sort of weird. I guess I was a lobbyist and a public policy person in Wyoming. I worked from home, but I traveled throughout the state. And I knew I definitely had sort of that independent entrepreneurial spirit, but at the same time, the idea of just really starting something on my own was intimidating, or the right idea didn't come, or whatever.
Can I stop you for just
Sure.
a second? Will you just move your necklace back because it's on the mic there?
There we go.
Perfect. Just
Okay.
I figured people could hear the rubbing. Go ahead.
Okay. And so a couple of times, various coffee shops and whatnot had come up for sale, and we had run numbers on things like that. And really, for us at least, the reality was the math didn't work. And so I kind of just gave up on it. And I had a successful career, so it wasn't like I needed
Right.
out or needed to find something else. And then my best friend in the whole, I consider her my sister. We were kind of raised together. Her name is Ann Vaughn. She's a jeweler. Invited me to go to market with her to the Bead and Gem show. Sorry, my husband just drove by.
No, it's okay. Hello.
The Bead and Gems show in Tucson. So that's where she sources all of her jewels, so to speak, for her jewelry. And I was standing in front of a booth, and the booth was selling, in this instance, it wasn't selling gems, it was selling gifty brooches and headbands and stuff like that. And I swear it was like a lightning bolt out of nowhere hit me and said, "You need to buy the Thistle." And that is a true story. And my husband is he's a banker, very conservative fiscally. I went home and I said, "Honey, I want to buy the Thistle." And he looked at me and he goes, "Then you're going to buy the Thistle."
Oh.
I was like, "What?" So then that's how there's a funny story here. So then I'm not sure she would approve of this telling of the story, but it's definitely my story. Is I got her drunk.
Nice.
And
That's how you got it so cheap, huh?
we were at a party, and I said, "Hey, Carol, I want to buy your shop." And she said, "Okay." And then we were on sort of a 5-year plan for me to buy it.
Right.
And this took place over a couple years. And because she had a viable buyer, the timeline got moved up. She was like, I actually am ready to retire. And so the timeline got moved up, and in February, whatever year that was, 6 years ago, we bought it.
That's so
Very cool.
I don't even remember what your question was.
Oh, I was just asking how you got started into it and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And basically kind of what it is.
Right.
Would you say you love what you do?
I do. I absolutely love what I do. I mean, everything about it. I like the accounting. I like the marketing. I wish I had more time to spend on marketing. I'm actually having a lot of fun with that. The people, I mean, Mackenzie knows this about me. I am a people person.
Right.
And actually, if I could share a little story.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
please.
So I worked by myself before. I was at home. I had a home office. And ever since I was pregnant with my second child, I had horrendous insomnia. I mean, I can't even explain how bad it was. And I tried everything. I just thought it was my new normal. And I felt like I was happy. I mean, I didn't know any better. That was my life, and I felt happy. I bought the thistle, and on my first day of work, I started sleeping.
Really?
And I have slept every day since then. So my theory is, sleep or insomnia is a sign of depression or is a symptom.
Yeah.
I think that I was depressed and didn't even know it. I'm an extrovert. I should not be working by myself in a home office. I get fed by you.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy, but it's totally true.
I mean, I have not been sleeping for, almost 2 years now?
Yeah.
So.
Now, when you say insomnia, how many hours a night are we talking?
Oh, God, it was bad.
Really?
I mean, anywhere from 2 hours to 5 if I was lucky.
Nowhere near enough.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
No. And so, I mean, when I was pregnant with Gillian, they actually put me in the hospital on a morphine drip because I went through 3 days or 5 days of no sleep.
Wow.
And the morphine drip didn't work, by the way.
Wow.
But like I said, this was just what I felt like was my normal. I didn't know any better. And I'm not one to go get medication. I don't even take ibuprofen.
Right.
So, I was just trying to cure it through exercise and all that kind of stuff and whatever.
Just natural.
Yeah. Anyways, so I do feel like I am very happy here. There's really not a single thing that I do that I dread. I just love it. I love
That's amazing.
all of it. Yeah.
Kinsey, you read that book, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, and I think that
Have you ever heard about that?
It kind of goes to with what she's talking about, where you have these physical ailments and physical things you're dealing with, but they have emotional and mental, not backstories, but kind of underlying effects that are causing them. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
So basically this book is just, it talks about, it's seriously amazing, Sarah. Like, it has been changing my life.
It's a book where Kinsey said, I'm afraid to read the next chapter because the next chapter I know is going to change my life, and I'm going to have to work really hard. It's that kind of book.
And
it's amazing.
I'm never afraid of working hard, either spiritually, mentally, physically. I'm not afraid of that. It's just, when you've been through stuff and you're like, oh, I know that it's even like having a hard workout. You're like, oh, I know it's going to be good, and I'm never going to be like, oh, I regret that workout, or I regret going to that therapy. Things like that. But so this book, it's basically about even from your literal, like the moment you're conceived, whatever is going on, like you start out with perfect DNA. And if it goes down to the things your mother thinks and says while she's pregnant with you, or the things how your father treats your mother, any of that kind of stuff, all the way to very insignificant things like the way somebody spoke to you once. That, hinders your DNA, and it kind of, changes it a little bit. And so, things like, what am I even trying to, I don't know. It's so big. I'm still struggling to condense this. But basically, you think you can just be like, well, I don't know, whatever. You might not even know what happened to you or what was said or the feelings that were projected into your DNA because it was when you were literally in the womb or you were less than a year old. So this book is saying that things that insomnia that you're like, well, this is just how it is. Or even, literal things like cancer. This woman has worked with several different doctors, and she's really into Deepak Chopra, those kind of things, really natural healing. And she's come up with this script. And what she has you do is you go through the script, and it gives you whatever you're feeling. So she has all these lists of ailments. Like if you have acne, it could be this, or this. And these feelings under here that you're feeling that are causing the acne, you then go to later on chapter, and it gives you the negative, I can't even remember, so don't directly quote me on this, but for example, if it says you're feeling depressed, so okay, I'm going to go through the script. I'm going to start with oh, blah, 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 I'm feeling depressed. You flip to the later chapter, and it gives you the exact opposite. So you end the script with the opposite feeling, I'm hopeful, I'm happy. And so you go through the script, and she has people in her book. She gives examples and provides examples of people literally curing their cancer. She had a friend that had cancer, and you just have to love everything. And love, it's like, it's my cancer, it's the cancer. You don't like, oh, I have cancer, it's the cancer. You're just like thinking of things not in terms of like getting cancer is, I don't even know, because it's like, yes, it is out of your control, but when you harbor hate so much, for example, I haven't even told you this example yet, but in the Holocaust, after the Holocaust was done, there was one man who had been there for like 6-7 years, and he was in complete and total health. They called him Wild Bill, I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Ironic.
what? I was like, okay. So this man, they were like, oh, he just got to this camp. Like, he was in perfect health. And he was a doctor or something, so they didn't necessarily, I don't think, like, did as many experiments on him. He was really helpful. Oh, he spoke several different languages, so he was a translator. So he was of more value to the camp workers and stuff like that. But they were like, no, I've been here for 7 years. And they were like, well, what do you do? And he goes, I just found a way to love every single person that I came in contact with. I never, ever, ever was negative or doubted them.
Right.
So even if he hated the people that were treating everybody so poorly, or there were other, because, like, they were in these small camps. All the Jewish people were in these tiny camps, so they would get angry at each other, and he was like, I chose to always, always, always love everybody.
Right.
And he was in perfect health.
Right.
So
I'm a huge believer on attitude, and I mean, even with my husband, he probably gets more frustrated and stuff with things than I do, and so I've talked to him many times about, like, I'll hear him around the house be like, like at something, and I'm like, honey, bring it, don't get so elevated. Like, somebody didn't put the toilet seat down. Like, who cares? Like, let's move. And he has gotten a lot better over time with things like that. But just almost everything is out of your control.
Right.
I mean, control what you can control,
but everything except what's within.
Yeah.
Right.
And you think about, if there are a lot of people who have heart attacks or have high blood pressure, and the doctor says you need to lower your stress levels, you need to do things that aren't stressful, and so that's a mental way of thinking that has a physical effect. And so when I heard you say these things, I was a little skeptical at first, thinking, how can my way of thinking change the fact that I have cancer? But then I think about that's a perfect example of it that a lot of people have experienced. You know?
Right.
Well, and my mom always said, after my dad passed away and we found out she had cancer, she used to always say, I knew I would get something from going through all that with your dad, because, nobody does everything perfect, and there was a lot of anger in that. And so she was like, I always knew something was going to come about from all that stress and anger and unhappiness from, like, everything we went through.
Right.
And I was always like, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense, but still, like, no. But then after reading this book, you should order it and literally have it in
It's
here.
amazing. It really is. She read me a couple excerpts from it, and it changed my way of thinking drastically.
It is so awesome. And that's what I want to do with this podcast, is I want to show people that you are in control of what you're in control of. And I know people say, like, that golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. It's so much more than that. Like, once you're like, oh yeah, I'll be nice to people in hopes that they'll be nice to me. But it's more than, like, it's treat your body how you want to be treated. Like, it's think the way you want to have thoughts, it's...
Kenzie and I are big advocates for speaking things into existence. We're firm believers that it's kind of like that fake it till you make it mentality, where if you convince yourself...
Sorry.
No, don't be.
Be careful, though. That Theranos book that I'm obsessed with, the bad blood thing, that's an example of fake it till you make it that went awry.
Oh,
but
God.
You have to read this book.
There's two sides of kind of fake it till you make it.
I'm totally
But
with
basically,
you.
if you convince yourself that you have achieved your goals, and you say, like Kenzie and I, we want to do marketing. We want to live, somewhere farther south that's warm. And so we have these 5-minute journals that you write your affirmations in. And so when we write our affirmations, we say, we have our dream jobs, and we live in Austin, Texas, which is one of our dream places, to basically trick your mind into thinking, okay, that's what I'm going to put into my head so that everything I do works towards that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
People are like, well, does that even work? Well, and I was like, none of this is making me unhappy.
It can't hurt.
Well, right.
Exactly.
That's what I'm a huge proponent of what you're talking about, and I feel like negative energy, period, is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt people around
It's
you.
so detrimental.
And then on top of, I am a believer of treat other people how you want to be treated. But on the flip side of that is if they're not treating you right, you have to grow your mindset and look at why. Like why are they hurting
Right.
to treat me that way?
Yeah.
And then oftentimes, can I swear in this
Oh,
podcast?
Yes, of course.
Whatever.
I love most people even when they're assholes.
Yeah.
Because something isn't working for them.
Right.
Something,
They're going through
somebody
something.
is not treating them right. Something happened to them to be that way. And when you can look at, maybe it was how they were raised, maybe it's whatever. I have room in my heart for them too.
Right.
Well, it's such a chain reaction because you never know if a customer comes in and they're in a bad mood because they went to the post office and the person at the post office was in a bad mood and treated them poorly, but the person at the post office is tired from working 15 jobs to support their, it's just, it is such a chain thing.
Right.
And once you break that chain, it's like you're showing them the compassion and the kindness.
Right.
It gives them even the tiniest bit of like the itsy bitsy glimpse of happiness and showing compassion. And it's just such a big, amazing concept. And when you don't know it, you're like, well, yeah, maybe, like what Bryce just said. But then once you get it, you're like, I want you to know this.
Right.
You're like, please.
Yes.
Once
It's
you
so
understand it, it
simple.
almost becomes like your life mission to spread that joy and that happiness and that positivity.
Right.
Totally. And the sad thing is, you could do 100 acts of kindness and one negative thing could take over your mind and that's all you think about.
Right.
But you just have to keep going with that positivity to try to outweigh that negativity.
Well, and we are all gonna, I am in no way, shape, or form perfect.
Right.
I try to not get that stressed out about things, but the reality is, like, it's gonna happen.
100%.
And so then it's like, okay, well, how do I deal with that stress? And in my life, it's continuing to try to keep some form of order.
Right.
And I move a lot. Sorry.
Don't be. No, you're fine.
But trying to keep some sort of order. If I can do that, then I know that normalcy will help me get through. And then let it stress me out, or don't let it. It's going to. And then move forward.
Right.
Nobody's perfect. We're all going to have stress in our lives.
I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
just kidding. No, I'm totally kidding.
Well, besides Mackenzie. Anyway, yeah. And I mean, my kids have both been sick. They both had the flu. I'm like, all right, this is happening. I get up, I drink my water, I take all my vitamin C's and my other vitamins, and I'm going to CrossFit.
Yeah.
I am going to fight that illness. And if I'm starting to feel plugged up, stuffed up, I am moving to get it moving.
Yeah.
And people need to do that with not just physical ailments, but like mental things that they're going through or things that happen to them. You have to have that same mindset.
Right, of just not being a denier, but fighting it and fighting
figuring
for
out
yourself.
what you need to do and then taking the steps to do that.
Right.
And I do, like, on the flip side of that, like, I have experienced, I think that depression comes already naturally on both sides of my family.
Right.
But then going through things with my dad, everybody resumed their lives after the funeral. So I was like, oh, I gotta just be normal again. So, and then that was in May, and then that following December is when it just really hit me, and I did have to get on medication, and I'm still working to get off of that. I've been on it for a while now, but I have had those days where I'm like, I can't get out of bed. Just the pressure, it just feels like weight, and I get it. I do understand that there are days where, if your biggest victory is brushing your hair, that's good, but tomorrow you need to do more and you need to do better. And when Bryce and I first met, he's very fortunate. He's never really had to deal with mental illness or any struggles kind of like that. Never really saw it. He didn't really believe. He was like, well, just be happy. I don't get it. Why can't you just? And he's been so amazing understanding that and learning. And I mean, we still have struggles. He's like, why are you so down? Why are you being negative? And then I'll have like a big and he's like, I'm sorry, I need to be more gentle with you. I get it.
I grew up from both my parents spent over 20 years in the military. So I'm probably a little tougher on Kenzie than I should be. But when she gets down, a lot of times I'm like, Kenzie, let's just figure out what's bothering you.
Or let's at least move to the couch. Like, let's get up, And even when I don't want it, I'm like, just leave me alone. I need to lay here. He is that. I hate to admit that, but he is what I need.
I think depression is really hard to understand if
Absolutely.
you don't have it.
100%.
I mean, so I will say, like, I think when I say I think I was depressed, I didn't feel depressed. So I don't really think I suffer from some major depression or whatever, but I have witnessed it in my life. And growing up with my mom, I mean, it's really hard to understand. It really is. I mean, because for us, we're like, get out of bed.
Yeah, go do something.
Go do something. Smile. But they have a medical component going on in their brains that are not allowing that.
Right.
And
it's not a choice. They're not doing it on purpose.
Right. And I don't think I ever really grasped it, even with my mom. I mean, growing up with her, until I had a friend. It was a friend of a friend, and my dear friend, let's leave location out. My dear friend was gone, and her friend was suffering from severe depression. And so the friend that would help take care of her was gone, and this girl needed help. And so she called me, Sarah, can you go bring this woman a meal? She's very specific. She wanted 2 very specific things. And I'm like, okay. And so I went and got exactly what she wanted and knocked on her. And so I had to bring it right into bed. I mean, she couldn't even come to the door. And I think, knowing that she would allow somebody that's sort of a stranger do that, and for an otherwise incredibly capable woman, I was like, this is real.
There has to be something going on.
Like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody wants to be like, hey, I can't get out of bed. Can you please bring this
especially
specific
not knowing
meal?
you.
Well, and she knew me, but not that well.
Right.
We were not. So anyways, ever since that happened, I was like, I definitely have empathy for people who feel that way. And it may happen. I mean, I have it in my family, obviously, with my mother, but my dad doesn't have a drop of it, and I'm pretty confident that I got his genetics that way and feel very blessed.
Yeah.
But
the good news is the people like you and I that don't really experience it as much as others, we are the ones that can be that voice to the people who are experiencing it, saying, hey, what do you need?
Right.
What can I do to help you get through this?
Right. And so we can share our knowledge. Like, I mean, I do feel like it's like me talking about not getting sick with the kids with the flu and stuff. Intellectually, you have an illness. You can intellectually say, I know if I do these things, I'm going to be better off.
Right.
So if there's any way that you can force yourself to work towards doing those things, you're going to be better off. So you can take charge of your own illness as well.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's really hard for people who are depressed
and
to do that.
And that's why when Kenzie and I, when a couple years ago is when she really started to deal with the death of her dad.
Right.
And that's when she started going to counseling and reading more and stuff. And we are the biggest advocates for celebrating the small victories.
Right.
Like she said, if you are extremely depressed and you can't even get out of bed, but you get out of bed and go take a shower, you need to celebrate that. And you need to say, okay, that was really good. But then again, you kind of have to humble yourself and say, tomorrow I have to do more.
Right.
And you build up this momentum.
Right.
And you can do that in your career.
Right.
We do that same thing, like especially with this podcast. We were lost and didn't know what we wanted to do. And whether this podcast becomes our full-time job or not, we are doing something and we are building momentum to get to a place that we want to be.
Right. And I don't know if this would help you at all, but You guys know I'm a obsessive worker outer, or you probably know that.
Yeah.
And I definitely counsel people and advise them, and the data backs this up, to work out in the morning. I mean, the reality, first of all, the data shows that that's more habit forming,
Right.
Yeah.
and will be more for life.
Yeah.
And then the reality is, if you have crap going on, whether you're a parent or whatever, if you schedule that workout at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a really good chance it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
There's something that's going to...
Well, especially if you work full time and you come home at the end of the day, who wants to work out after 8 hours
And
of
some
working?
people do it, and it's successful, and that's awesome.
Right.
But I just explain this stuff to people. But then a lot of people ask me how I do it. How did you get in this habit of getting up in the morning and doing it every day? And I don't know where I read this or if I made it up. I have no idea. But if I am struggling to get up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing it, then I force myself to say, how do you want this day to go? That's what I say to myself. And then I'm like, I want this day to go good, and I don't want it to end with me mad at myself because I didn't work out this morning.
Right.
Up.
Have you ever heard of Tim Ferriss?
Oh, yeah.
So Tim Ferriss, he talks about a lot.
That's the 4 hour.
I know exactly what it is too, and I cannot
Is
think
it
of
4 hour body? 24? What?
I'm not
I know
sure.
who you're talking about.
But he also
Yes.
came out with a new book called Tribe of Mentors.
Okay.
But he's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's a super big advocate for.
Side note, that's another premise of this podcast, is because we were inspired by that book.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
All right,
like-
I'll
So
have to
the
read
Tribe
this
of
book.
Mentors, basically, he interviews over 100 people at the top of their field, kind of like what we're doing, but to figure out how they got there. So we're doing it with people who do what they love. He did it with, I don't know if you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, Terry Crews. I'm sure you know Terry Crews,
yeah.
people like that. All actors, athletes, the whole spectrum. But he's a huge advocate for, if you win the morning, you win the day.
Yes,
100%.
I totally agree with
Because
that.
he says you need to have a morning routine, and if you can just complete that morning routine, get 4 or 5 things done, it will set yourself up physically and mentally for the entire day.
Well, and here's a good example of that. I mean, sometimes by 10 o'clock in the morning, I am pretty confident that I have done more than what some people accomplish in an entire day.
100%.
So let's pretend then at 10 o'clock I become a complete slacker. Because I'm, my estrogen is low that day, so it's just not going to be a highly productive day for me, or
Right.
whatever. Well, guess what? Between 4:30 and 10, I already did a crap ton.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to end that day feeling like a schmuck. And I feel good about myself. So, by the way, when we're talking about, sorry, is this about health? Is this?
It's about everything.
I brought up hormones. Okay, I highly recommend this. There's an app you can get for your phone called a Hormone Horoscope.
Okay.
And this is why I like it when we're talking about taking charge of your day and your health.
Right.
So if I go into my I'm so sorry, Bryce.
Don't be at all.
We're going to talk about girly things.
That's totally fine. I'm
He's
great at
used to it.
I always tell Kinsey, when we hang out with her girlfriends, I become the third wheel.
Right.
But I'm fine with it. So
So if I go into it and it says where I'm at, so like right now I think I'm at like day 20 or something, and it'll say like, here's where you're at. Your estrogen is going to be, and I may have my facts messed up on this, but super low, which means basically you're going to be a slug or want to be a slug.
Right.
You're going to crave bad foods. You're going to da-da-da-da-da. That is useful information for me because I now know I'm going to feel like, all right, my hormones are going to want me to feel this way today. No. I'm going to dress for success. I'm going to know when I want that chocolate bar that the only reason I'm wanting it is because my hormones.
Well, and if you know that ahead of time, you can do things to set yourself up for success.
Right.
You know?
And so I think it's really helpful, and I think especially with your depression, like I think you should get it. And I mean, it's a little goofy. It might be like,
Whatever. If it works, it works.
well, and it talks about productivity. Like So it's at the beginning of your cycle, I think, that you have high estrogen. And when we have high estrogen, that's when we go. And so to know that, like, this is when I'm going to tackle that.
The hardest thing you're working on.
Right, the thing that you haven't been wanting to do or whatever. Or, I don't know. There's just, I like it because it again, allows you to take charge versus allowing things to control you.
Well, yeah, because then you're not like, I feel like crap. I'm a piece of crap. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, why do I feel this way? You know, when you're just in a funk and you're like, why am I feeling this way? Like, ugh, what's wrong with me? I'm a little, you know?
But then you can know, like, oh, it's because of this, and screw you.
Yeah, I'm
going to do this to battle it. Or, okay, be kind to myself or whatever. You know.
Yeah, that might even be helpful for you.
Yeah.
When you need to be nicer
Maybe
to me.
More estrogen? Is that what you're recommending?
Maybe Bryce needs to get the hormone app.
Yeah,
And be
exactly.
like, ooh,
Wow.
okay.
I need to be really sweet to her.
Yeah.
So you want to grab her mic? It keeps falling.
Okay.
So describe your morning routine. What time do you wake
God.
up? When do you work out? Do you have something like things you do every single morning?
Yeah, so I get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Goodness.
4:30-ish. I have a cup of coffee. I probably will be criticized for this, but I put on a little bit of makeup. I can't go out in public without makeup on. I go to CrossFit. We work out. I'm done by, depends, 6:15. On Mondays, I coach, so that's a longer morning, so I'm not home till about 7:30, but every other morning. And then I get home, and that varies. Like I've just started this. I eat it. I don't like breakfast, and I struggle with breakfast.
Me too.
So, but I've been up since 4:30. And
well, and I've already worked out, especially with CrossFit, how intense that is.
I eat an orange. I don't know, for whatever reason, that's my latest kick. And then I make breakfast for later. And then if the kids are there and and they're wanting breakfast, I'm doing that kind of crapola. And with the kids and getting them set up and ready and yelling at them about laundry and all that stuff. And then Garrett usually takes the kids to school. And then I sort of have a little bit of peaceful time. And I read for 10 minutes. I check the mail. All right, check my email, all that kind of stuff. And I check the news, and I write in my journal.
Awesome.
And then I take a shower and frantically get ready for work. I pack my lunch usually the night before because I just eat leftovers of whatever we've had, so that's done. And then I'm doing my deposit at the bank, and then I'm here. But, and I left out all the, cleaning and dog and all that stuff, but household stuff in the morning that would bore you to tears to hear about. But I feel like between the house and the laundry and the kids and the this and the reading and the journal and I usually do my social media marketing at that time. Usually, I try to. Don't tell my competitors this, but for Instagram, I've totally discovered that if you can get your Instagram post done before those kids go to school, you get more likes.
Oh, interesting.
Because they all get on in the morning.
Right. That's kind of the first thing most people do when they wake up.
So the little teeny boppers are like.
There you go.
So.
That's great.
I love them. Thank you, kids. Yay, the kids like the thistle. But anyway, so I've discovered that, and I don't know. There's usually some more work in there, like whatever's going on.
Right.
Sometimes I even am like, I'm going to order this right now. I get distracted. It's like squirrel, in the morning. And then I come to the thistle, and I usually do a bunch of accounting. Like that's first part of my day. Sometimes that's all that happens. It just depends on who walks through the door.
Right.
I mean, if my customers are wanting to spend time with me, I'll spend. I probably shouldn't get paid for what I do. It's kind of like I hang out all day.
But that goes back to doing what you love for a living, right?
And I have to be really careful because I'm a talker. So I need to make sure, and I know I've failed at this. Public, I know I failed at this, that I'm not cornering them. I mean, that's probably my biggest weakness. Like, do they want to be talking to me?
Right.
Like, or is it just you know?
Or have I just been alone for a little bit too long this morning? No, that's me too.
I need to be careful about that, and I try, and I'm sure I've outworn my welcome before, but then they come back, so I don't know.
You're
That's
like,
all that matters.
they
Yeah,
still like me.
Kinsey's biggest thing is when there's silence in a conversation, she feels the need to fill the silence with
Right.
as much as
And
she
then
can.
things just get weird.
Right.
They just get weird.
But that's why when you and I get together in the store, it's a complete shit show.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
She could hang out in here for 8 hours.
Right.
I would be like, oh, okay.
We're just hanging out. We're just kicking it.
But then that's the thing. I go, did I do that? Or did she want that? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
oops.
And then I'm on the other end being like, did I overstay my welcome or did she want me to be there? And
Nobody can overstay their welcome here.
we're the worst two kinds of people to come together.
Yeah, I know. But it is through that I get joy, and I can't even tell you how many magical moments have taken place in this store.
Right.
I mean, we are talking tears, joy. One of the things that I've discovered through working at the Thistle is if I had to name the number one challenge, at least of my customers in Cody right now, it's caregiving. So either they're caregiving for like somebody who's disabled, but more often than not, they're caregiving for their husband or an aging parent.
Right.
And that people in this community, if we had anything that we could be working on, people need support for that. And that is something that is one of the biggest conversations we have in here. And I would have very little exposure to that had I not bought the Thistle.
Well, that's a lot like what your mom does. She does caregiving
Right.
for so many different people.
Oh, I know. I
Kids,
see her.
disabled people, friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, you want to talk about depression. I mean, I have a few customers who are caregiving for, like, one is for a husband. I mean, it's hard. It is really
Because
hard.
you're kind of giving everything you have, and
Yes.
there's nothing left for yourself.
And they
you know?
don't, like, so then you're like, okay, how do we fix this? Do we get a support group together?
Right.
Well, when are they going to get to go to a support
Yeah,
group?
when are they
Yeah,
going to have time?
exactly.
So it's really hard to figure out how to help these people. But when they occasionally get to stop in at the Thistle,
Yeah.
hopefully just talking about it
Yeah, for a few
helps.
minutes.
I don't know. I have a lot of customers who are widows, and this is going to sound really weird, but it's been fun or interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I definitely have come to see that there's like a 2-year, it's a 2-year process before things really, where they turn over a new leaf.
Interesting.
I mean, there are great times and there are really
Always
low
ups and
times
downs, right.
in that 2-year period. But after 2 years, things definitely get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been interesting to watch. I've had people share stories with me in here about, I had a customer one time come in who was buying something for a friend of hers whose child had just committed suicide.
Oh my goodness.
And we're talking about incredibly raw,
Yeah.
emotional conversations.
Something you can
and,
never imagine going through.
Right. And we cried together and we held each other, and she found the most perfect gift that she was so happy about, that it was just fit perfectly.
Right.
And that's rare when it comes to loss.
Right.
Because, I mean, you get people that are like, what can I do? What do you need? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, or I'm so sorry for. It's okay. No, it's not okay.
Right.
So when you truly feel like you are making that difference, that is insurmountable. Like that is
and I don't even know
huge.
that I'm making a difference. I'm more saying, like, this is what's happening here, and it feeds me, and if I can help, great, but it's so joyful for me. I mean, I just love it, and it's very sad at times, but at the same time, it's life. You know, I see great. I mean, we laugh in the Thistle. I mean, I have been on the floor. So I've actually, there's like a syndrome thing where, this is a true story. I researched it, where you can lose bodily control if you laugh. Like, certain people have it.
Right.
I have it. So if you get me going, like it's indescribable as to what is going to cause me to laugh that way. Like I couldn't tell you ahead of time, but I have had to lay down on the floor before and I could not get up. And then I tried to get up and I'm leaning on the counter laughing and my hand gave out and my head hit the counter. This is
my
a true
goodness.
story. I mean, because we have the funniest, just either us as employees in here doing stupid crap or somebody comes in and tells me a funny thing or we just have a funny interaction or... I don't know. It's the best.
It's like life literally happens here in Thistle. You get
Yes, and I don't know. I challenge everybody. Like, I would give a gift certificate out. Like, who makes me laugh the hardest in a month? Like, because I thrive on that.
Right.
I don't know. I love it. I have crazy, stupid crap happen to me, and I post about it.
I love it. It makes me feel
awesome.
human.
Yeah.
Like the other day when I put, instead of my argan anti-aging oil on my eyes, I put my cinnamon flavored hemp oil.
Nice.
How did that feel?
It was hot.
It was hot.
Anyways,
It's like sticking big red chewing gum in your eyes.
so I love I don't know. That's how my life goes. And so when people come in and share funny stories with me, oh God, gets me going.
We recently got, so do you know what BarkBox is for dogs?
Yes.
So we just got our most recent BarkBox, and it's one of those, your first letter of your first name is this, and then the first letter of your second
name. It's kind
name.
of like FBI. Like the theme was detectives and.
And I meant to take a picture and send it to you. So when I get back to Laramie, I'm gonna send it to you on Facebook.
Wait, maybe I don't know what BarkBox is. Isn't BarkBox like treats for your dog?
Yeah,
So
but
it's a
it's always like
subscription
okay.
Yeah.
There's always a
okay.
theme.
Because was it funny?
Yeah, it's like Sergeant Sniffy Pants, like stuff like
stuff
that.
like that.
So
But there's
I'll put it on
themes. So
Facebook.
there's like a Chinese New Year theme, and then another one we got was
prom.
One was prom, and so it was like a little bowl of
my
punch
God.
toy, and then a little squirrel in a prom dress.
It was
Oh my God.
It's
so
cute.
fun. Yeah.
It's really fun.
But it was one of those things that you love.
Oh, I love, and that's the other fun thing, guys. I buy the craziest crap, and I don't say to myself, like on some things, I don't say like, are people gonna think this is funny? I'm like, I don't give a crap. I think this is the funniest thing ever, and probably nobody will buy it, but what? Those are the things that sell.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I currently have an experiment in here right now. I bought this stupid, what are those sun visors you put in your car? And it looks like an entire herd of squirrels is having a party in your car. So stupid. And I think it's hysterical. Maybe it won't sell. We'll see. But if it does sell out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let us know,
like
please.
what was the one? Well, I've carried squirrel underpants.
Nice.
Like those all sold. I don't know. And so I
get
get
like your sloth things. I saw that.
Oh yeah.
Those sold out in...
The one that ruined my entire weekend once because it was the Instagram post gone wild. Oh my God. Because I was trying to do something, like go on a trip or something that weekend. It took over my life. It was ridiculous. Especially because we don't have a website. So like, if people want like a special order, it's all like, oh, okay, was that on Instagram or was that on Facebook? Okay. I mean, writing down all their names. It was Instagram post gone wild. Oh, I think I had 50 special orders of that. That's not including what we sold, in the store.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what. Did you have a question? I don't know.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Well, we started with morning routine.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Sorry.
No, I love it. This is what I want for this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want it natural. I don't want to be like,
We basically have
Sarah.
talking points, but
Right.
we're just gonna let it go where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I love
Well,
that.
are you going to ask me about my boyfriend?
Yes, I need to know if you could talk to anyone or have dinner with anyone, who would it be? Dead or alive? I know he's alive.
Besides my husband.
Yes, besides your husband.
Who I adore, Garrett. Tom Brady. And I know people in Wyoming are going to hate that answer, but you want to talk about these things that we're talking about in terms of health and taking charge of your, goals and all that kind of. I mean, you cannot tell me that this man is not a role model.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Granted, I hate the Patriots, but I do.
Deflategate,
I like Tom
whatever.
Brady.
And if he is unethical, I happen to believe in my heart of hearts that he's not.
Is he the 10,000 hours?
No, that's Peyton Manning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, but assuming that my belief in him that he's an ethical human being is right, then the rest of the way he lives his life is inspirational. I mean, he goes after what he wants.
Right.
He loves his wife. He loves his children. And he eats healthy. And, all those things that I do to try to make my life better. I mean, obviously not to the extent that he does, but yeah, I admire him.
Right.
And he's pretty cute. And my husband has allowed me this free pass if Tom Brady would ever go out to dinner with me. Anyways, so I would just love to talk to him because.
What's the first thing you'd ask him?
Oh God. I'd probably ask him about his relationship with Giselle. I mean, because I'm such a people person, I'd probably ask about his kids and. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you feel about Tom Brady is the way, well, other than he's attractive and all that, that's how I feel about LeBron James. But I think LeBron James and Tom Brady are very similar in that fact.
And I don't know as much about LeBron because I'm not obsessed with basketball,
but he loves his wife, loves his kids more than anything.
Side note, Bryce is like, if LeBron wanted you, you could have him if I could be your side guy. And he was like, if LeBron wanted me, you could still be my side chick. That's how much he loves LeBron.
Yeah.
Every relationship, there needs to be one free pass.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that my husband's is Charlize Theron, but let's be real, this is not reality,
Exactly.
right? So that's why it's okay to talk about it.
He is such an inspiration for me because he just opened up a school in Akron, Ohio, the I Promise School, where if you graduate from that school, you get free college tuition paid by him, paid by his foundation.
Wow.
And same thing with Tom Brady. He loves his wife. He loves his kids. He's extremely healthy. He's a big advocate for exercise and health and things like that.
Right.
And it really is an inspiration.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I full disclosure, I realize this could be controversial because it is questionable whether he is ethical or not.
Right.
And if it were to be disclosed at some point that he's not, I take away all my Tom Brady love.
Right.
Because I do believe in ethics. I mean, but yeah, I mean, he generally is a good role model, but I mean, his output is impressive. I mean,
Absolutely.
what he has achieved in sports is impressive.
Well, especially at his age now.
Yeah, well, watch it.
No, what I'm saying is football careers are very short.
Oh, I know. Well, I think about it because I'm 45, and
Is that how old he is?
no,
Or is he a
he's
little
younger.
Is he?
But let me give you an example. Okay, so this would have been, Maddox is 16, so do that math. I was probably 31, 32, 33, and we had a slip and slide, and here I'm like a kid. I go and just run and jump and slide on, from standing height, just jump on it.
Right.
That nearly broke this padding didn't work, is what I'm saying. Like my breastbone and my rib cage, I was like, holy, so that was when I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
Like they have that kind of crap rolling around.
Yeah.
I couldn't even, there's no way my body could do that right now.
One of the kids that Kinsey babysits for, he's always running around and falling on his knees and stuff. And I was doing something the other day, working on my knees, and I got up and I thought, oh my gosh, I feel like I can't walk.
Yes. I know, there's a certain point
crazy.
that we can't, and plus, anyway, so, but I do, for the record, have slightly more intellectual role models. I mean,
Tom Brady's the most interesting, though.
That's probably relatable, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet more people know that name than...
And I'm, a huge, obviously, we haven't talked about it and we probably shouldn't talk about it, but, I'm kind of a political beast, political junkie.
Right.
That is my background, and obviously I follow people all the time, and anybody who's ever done anything ethical and also inspirational. You know, I'm going to love and admire, and right now that's really hard. It seems like
Agreed.
I'm not sure what
Without
is
throwing
going on,
names,
but no, I just mean generally.
100%.
I've lost like a little faith lately, like, you know, with the college scandal, and then with Robert Kraft getting caught,
Right.
you know, in this prostitution ring or whatever, and then everything going on in politics. I'm like, is anything real anymore?
Right.
You know?
Speaking of politics, we were supposed to have him on this weekend, but he ended up having surgery. But we're going to have Al Simpson on the podcast here soon.
Al is one of my mentors, somebody I look up to.
We're very excited
hugely.
about it.
And I know everybody says this about him, so I'm going to sound like a
Broken record.
thank you. But truly, he is, you know, he wants to find common ground. Can I share an Al Simpson story with you guys?
By all
Oh my
means.
gosh.
Okay, so I love that man. And he is someone I would like to have dinner with or whatever.
Right.
And obviously I've gotten my Al time and I feel very fortunate for that. But
Sure.
so my dad is extremely far left. Okay. He's as far left as somebody is far right. And I don't like far anything. Like I'm just
Switzerland.
yeah. Well, I'm not Switzerland. I have my opinions.
Right,
But
right.
to me, when you get so it's anything to an extreme
no
is not
extremists.
helpful.
Right.
So even if you believe in something far left, you need to talk about it in a way where we can find common ground.
You have to see both sides.
But you can't be spewing out rhetoric and fake news and all that junk.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna lose me.
Fake news.
Yeah. So anyway, so my dad is, but you know, my dad's far left. I mean, and he's not on Instagram or anything like that. So you don't see. I mean, he's not. I mean, my dad's well schooled in politics and what's going on, so he doesn't spread lies. That's what I'm trying to say. But he did not like Al Simpson at all.
Really?
And, oh, I'm sorry, I left this piece out. My dad is gay. You guys know this, correct? And there, I couldn't even tell you now. I mean, I've known at some point, but there was something that Al did in the early 90s or 80s or something, and it was covered in the magazine The Advocate, which is like I believe I have the name right. I think that's the, like, LGBTQ, like, policy kind of magazine. And whatever it was, my dad got it in his head that Al Simpson was evil and didn't like him. Fast forward, here we are living in Cody. Obviously have Al, you know, as an acquaintance and whatnot. And I got to know him a little bit better, hear him speak on the radio. And I'm like, I love this man. He is so fabulous. Like, because he is probably a little further right than I am, but the way he talks about it isn't disarming. I mean, it makes me want to engage,
Right.
And he wants people to engage, and it's civil discourse, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, so I kind of told Al about my dad, and he, if I have the story right, he mailed my dad and Tim his book and wrote them a letter.
Interesting. That's
and
amazing.
About where he's come on this issue, and the way I understand, I believe he's pretty much come full circle. Oh my God, my dad loves Al Simpson now. Loves
That's
him.
amazing.
And they've been together on the airplane and blah 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 blah.
That's
And,
awesome.
and then one time I was reading an article, and it was like some national article, and Al Simpson was like, there's a girl in Cody that owns a gift shop, and she was raised by her gay dad. And then I was
And you were like,
I was like, and he was sort of making the point that, like, you can have a gay parent and be a normal. Anyways, it was funny. But I love that man, and I think he has a heart of gold, and I wish him the best, and I think that we can all learn from his style.
And that's what we want. That's especially why we want to have him on the podcast, is we've heard the same thing that you're saying right now, and we want people to not just in politics, but in life in general. We want
Right.
people to see both sides of all issues and
Right.
be open-minded, and
Right.
talk about those things.
Right.
Well, and one thing that we have found so just annoying in job searching is we're from Wyoming. So people are like, oh, you're from Wyoming? Like, oh.
Especially in our field, they don't think we have
like,
the expertise and the
Right.
Oh,
experience.
that's cute. Like, people don't have a clue what it's like out
Right.
here. And so when we find successful people or people that we admire, I think that success has many different forms and shapes. And I'm not saying, like, someone's more, you know what I mean? Like, obviously,
Right.
there are people that are more successful. But when there are people in Cody that I look up to and I admire, and there's so many. I love you all.
Right.
But I want to know. And I
Right.
want to prove. Like, I want to say, hey, guess what? We're on the map. And we're
Right.
not just a bunch of outhouse peeing, horse riding
Right.
cowboys out here. Like, we are
Which
advanced
we love
too.
them.
Oh, we
yeah.
do. love them,
Yeah,
yes.
we've had
gone out in
people
an outhouse
ask
before.
us. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We've had people ask us if we ride horses to work and if we have plumbing and
Like,
all
is
this
it
kind
I
of
think
stuff.
that you should just say no.
I know that's the most fun
We do
thing
not,
to say.
and it is really challenging. Let me tell you.
It's so hard. I
Which
did not
I have to
know.
work and walk 5 miles to poop,
Exactly.
which means that I'm going to work my butt off for you because my life is so hard. I mean,
Right.
just own it. I think
yeah.
you need to come up with a whole new, like, not only do I ride my horse to work, but I, like, work with me on this, guys.
yeah.
Like,
I do
something
it
like-
backwards.
Yes.
I write a novel by Quail while I am riding on my horse because I have
mean-
gotten the rhythm.
So what's frustrating about that to me is in reality they should be hiring people from Wyoming because in any workplace we want diversity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the more ideas we bring to the table, the better off the product is going to be.
Exactly.
And if you're from Wyoming, you have a understanding of people that is missing in this country.
Yeah, and that's. Sorry, keep going.
Well, so people who live in the bubbles, New York, parts of California,
Right.
all my friends, Washington, D.C., Boston, they don't understand all the time the middle of the country. And we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we live with them.
Right.
And from a marketing standpoint, that's money.
That's always what we say. We say we did marketing for the University of Wyoming, and I would say Wyoming is probably the least tech savvy, one of the least tech savvy states,
Right.
and a lot of people are not on social media,
But guess
we
what we
figured
did?
out how to market to them, and
We
so I
helped
think that has value.
Generate
Right.
$16.2 million in
Right.
revenue
Right.
via social media. We
Right.
know how to market to
Right.
those people that are
And
just on
it's kind of like if you can
Facebook.
market to
Right.
people in Wyoming, you can market to anyone.
Yeah,
Right.
we
You know?
get it.
Right.
But anyways, along this is basically I just wanted to say like we also want to show that we are successful out here. Like we
Right.
are worth it. My
Exactly.
very best friend Sky. Do you know the Irwins?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she got a job at Boston Consulting in Boston.
Oh, good
She's
for
there.
her.
Love you, miss you so much. And
She's just
they
Hi,
took,
Sky. I know
killing
Sky,
it.
too.
they took a chance on her. And she
Good.
is
Well, yeah, no.
you know what she's in? She's in luxury and fine. She's in like beauty and luxury. That's her focus right now. From
Consulting.
Cody, Wyoming.
Right.
Beauty and luxury.
Right.
If
People don't think beauty and luxury when they think of Wyoming.
No,
they think of rustic. And,
Yeah.
Right.
I worked for a startup. It was called House Party. I don't know. It's, group FaceTime.
Yeah.
Well, it was that before FaceTime had the group. But I went out to San Francisco. I got flown out there for a weekend of training. And the girls were like, "You're so normal.
Yeah, we're normal
You
people."
look just like you dress just
I
like
think you
us
should
and
go,
stuff."
really?
You think I'm normal? Yeah. No, exactly. So I'm like,
My
guess
horse
what?
outside is pretty normal too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I rode my horse here to San Francisco.
Well, and I think, that's so frustrating. I mean, my favorite quote is ignorance breeds fear. My children, I use this quote all the time. I mean, to me, they're afraid of you because they don't know you.
Everyone's afraid of the unknown.
Yeah, and so we are mean or don't like what we don't know. And all they need to do is open up their world a little bit and find out that Wyomingites rock.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I've only shot a gun once in my entire life. I'm not that different from you.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I shop at the same stores you shop at. I just
Right.
have to drive a little further
Right.
to get to them.
Right.
But, I mean, I see the same social media feeds as
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Like, we do have cable. We get the news. Believe it or not.
Right.
I'm up to date on current events. So, yeah. But that's another thing that I want this podcast to do is I want to get Wyoming on the map. Like, we are no different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm just as talented as somebody that went to school somewhere else, you know?
And that's why we want to interview especially like successful people from Wyoming, because I think a little bit we are at a disadvantage in the fact that we're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? People view us as not as smart or capable in certain fields than others. And so, do you know who Brandon Nimmo is?
No.
He plays for the New York Mets, but he's from Cheyenne, Wyoming. He went to the other school. We don't say, that's our rival, so we don't say their name, but the other school in Cheyenne.
Right.
And so we would like to interview him and people like that that have figured out how to kind of break that way of thinking. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are quite a few, I mean, more than you would think, than just like the average, what's the show, Longmire? There's much more than just like the Longmire idea of Wyoming out there. The writer of all the Oceans movies from Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Taco John's was founded in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah. They just had their birthday, didn't they?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
Or
so.
sure.
something. I heard it on the news.
Bryce got to go do like a
Cooking competition in high school at the Taco John's, and we met the CEO's or the founder's son, and it was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I feel like I was just listening to Wyoming Public Radio or something, and there was a whole big story about, or maybe did Taco John's just like sell or expand? I don't know. I'm just going to spread fake news. I don't know what I heard. I heard something about them. But no, Wyomingites have a lot to offer. And owning this store, I mean, I meet some incredible people.
Absolutely.
And people that you don't even know exist.
Right.
Like they'll come in and I'm like,
Who are you?
Yeah.
And how do I not know you? And then like they tell me, they're a consultant for this or that, and they fly all and they live here, and I'm like, holy crap. So my employee just pulled up and she doesn't even know we're doing
Okay,
this.
that's totally fine. I was going to end it with, basically I want you to kind of tell everyone where we can find you. Social media, where your store is located, things like that.
So 1243 Rumsey Avenue.
Cody,
We go
Wyoming.
off the beaten path because we're one block off Main Street.
Right.
Instagram, it's This Old Cody or something like that. Just Google it.
We'll put the links down below
And
so
then
you can find them.
Instagram, I think, is Thistle_Cody.
Okay.
I'm not. Anyways.
We'll double check that and we'll get them
And
on
then, come visit. Everybody that comes loves it, and
Great.
we have a ball, and I enjoy it. And